Hello, welcome back to another edition of KCS at Home. This is the summer edition. This is week 3 of the summer tasks. Hope you've looked forward to or had fun doing the geography and finding out where Rome is and how much of Europe they took over. You should have also looked at the government and seen how their government is the basis of our government. Everything that we do today is based off of the way they had their government. I am Miss Hill. I teach at Bearden Middle School. And this week, we're going to look at all the lasting impacts Rome has made on us. That's what I said. It's task 3, lasting impacts. If at any point you have a hard time understanding this video, make sure that your closed captions are on so that you can read what I'm saying across the bottom. If you need to, you can adjust the playback speed to slow down the video. Also, you are welcome to pause this video at any point, especially if you're online. Pause, rewind it, watch any part of it again to make sure you understand. And you're welcome to have someone watch at home with you and ask them questions as you go. What we are looking at are the things that we still have in our world from Rome, either because the thing that Rome invented is still physically here, or the idea of what they invented is something they took from the Greeks and made better and then passed on to us, and we still have in our day-to-day lives. So to do that, we want to have a scavenger hunt for you. Rome has made considerable lasting impacts on our world using your eyes. Look out your own window, the window of a car that you use, or Google, or use Ask Siri, and go on a scavenger hunt. We know that for some of you, your physical movement might still be a little limited. So it doesn't have to be actually going out. It can be virtually going out and discovering how the world works, both here in Knoxville and the world. So we're going to go on a scavenger hunt of the things that Rome has left behind for us that impact our daily lives. I'm going to show you a few of them. I'm going to show you how we do these connections. And then I'll show you a lot of Roman examples, and you should be able to find the things from Knoxville or from the world. Again, go out and look. See how they've influenced our religion, our architecture, our engineering, our language with your eyes. Take pictures of it. It would be really great for you to take pictures and either share them with your 6th grade teachers or save them for next year. This is all preview for 7th grade. So you can save them and be a great part of discussion when you get back together with classmates about just, hey, this is the world around us. So let's go have fun and explore. Online, you'll see a worksheet that gives you places to write your information down that says the lasting impacts. And it looks like this. There's a format. On the very left-hand side, we gave you the area they impact us, religion, and then a little bit of a brief description about it. We gave you examples of ancient Rome and what we mean that thing is. And then a space for you to jot your ideas of where do I see this in Knoxville, or where do I see this in the world. If you want it to be more of a scavenger hunt so that you can share pictures with classmates either on Canvas or Seesaw or emailing your teachers and back in person, you could just use this as a place to make a checkbox of, hey, I found that thing on my scavenger hunt. Totally up to you, whether you write notes to yourself or make it a check mark. This is just a worksheet format to help guide your exploring. Our first category up that Rome has impacted us in is religion. Roman gods and goddesses. Those are the polytheistic beliefs of the gods and goddesses that they took from the Greeks. They were so original. I really like Zeus. He's going to become Jupiter. I really like Poseidon and Hades. They're going to become Neptune and Pluto. And then you can see those gods there. They just renamed them, except for Apollo. They were too lazy to even rename Apollo. So the Gods are Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Neptune, Mercury, etc. What do those sound like? Those should sound very familiar. For this one, where do I see them in Knoxville and where do I see them in the world? They're gonna be the exact same. Let's do a little bit of thinking. Right. Those are our planets. It is the Romans who named the planets, and therefore their lasting impact on us, even though we do not follow that religion anymore, is the names of our planets, because that was their religion. See how this game goes? If at any point you need to pause the video, feel free to do that and write your ideas down and write your exploration down, and then you can come back to the next section later. Okay, I'm going to change my format up a little bit so it's easier for you to read. Feel free to follow along on that worksheet. Another major area that Rome influenced us in is the religion of Christianity. So in 6th grade, we looked at Judaism and Hinduism and Buddhism, as well as the mythologies of Egypt and Greece and Mesopotamia. But of the lasting world religions, the last major one we studied in 6th grade is Christianity. This comes from the area of Judea during the time of the Roman Empire. It is a monotheistic religion based on the life and teachings of Jesus. People who choose to follow the teachings of Jesus are called Christians. So the religion is called Christianity. It began during the time of Rome. That's why the timeline changes from BC, before Christ, to AD, Anno Domini, the year of our Lord, or before Common Era to Common Era. It's still based around the presumed dates of when Jesus was born. Things that are lasting in our world beyond the religion, that is the most practiced religion in the whole world. You should be knowledgeable of that, even if you don't choose to follow that religion. We get basilicas and cathedrals. Those are types of Christian churches where Christians go to worship. We get our major holidays, such as Christmas and Easter. In Knoxville, one area that has an impact of Rome is the Catholic Church of Sacred Heart, but also the Greek Orthodox Church, and maybe some of the churches that you go to, or the ones you drive past when you're driving around Knoxville. Worldwide, there are major churches like the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris. That's the one that caught fire a couple years ago. You saw the roof catch on fire. That's Notre Dame. I'll give you some pictures of it. If you're not familiar with Sacred Heart, up here in the corner, this is Sacred Heart. This is the largest Catholic church that we have in Knoxville. Look at this dome. Pay attention to the architecture on Sacred Heart, because I'm going to come back to it in a couple minutes. Pay attention to this dome. If you're not familiar, this is Notre Dame in Paris. This is an old picture because it still has a roof on it. This is before it caught on fire. Major cathedrals around the world, a third of the world, the largest religion practiced is Christianity. Big impact that comes from Rome. Practicing Christmas, again, a third of the world practices Christmas and follows Easter. Halloween, even though it's not Christian anymore, was started as a religious holiday. Those are big lasting impacts on our daily lives. So that's what we mean by what does it look like here in Knoxville, and what does it look like in the world as we do our scavenger hunt. All right. Next up, language. Rome has a big impact on our language. They impact what we speak because they spoke Latin. The oral traditions used by ancient Romans, that's what Latin means. Some examples, some root words in our language. Anima, it means life. Remember way back when you did prehistory, the people followed animism? That's the religion of the belief in life. Animism. Manus means hand. What are some words you can think of that involve hand and sound like manus? Herbs, a city. What are some words that you can think of that involve herbs and are city? Some prefixes. In, im, ill all mean not. Like illiterate, not literate. Can't read literature. Illiterate. Re means again or back. Refrigerator, to refrigerate. Fridge is another Latin word that means cold. Refrigerate, to make it cold again. Semi, half. A semicircle, like a lot of the theaters. Another area that language impacts us in our world, and Latin impacts us, in addition to roots and prefixes, is Romance languages. The languages spoken in France and Italy and Spain and Romania. Those are all similar languages. They're Romance languages based off of Rome. Not because they're the languages of love. Although a lot of people think that they are very romantic languages. They're Romance because they're based off of Rome. And as soon as you learn one of those languages, it's really easy to learn the other ones. Next up, Roman numerals. That's the number system used by the ancient Romans. You write in Arabic numerals. Roman numerals are just the set of letters. I, V, X, L, C, D, M. That's it. All their numbers up to 1,000,000 are just 7. I mean, count right? Yeah, 7 letters. And you combine them in a bunch of patterns. So you can say 3 or 40 or 450. Those patterns make up the way we still kind of do numbers. You probably most frequently see them in a clock or a watch or the beginning of a textbook. Hint, those are some areas from around Knoxville. Some ones in our world. This building, we'll frequently have numbers on buildings. It says in New York. We can tell what year the building was built. It was built in the year 1864. So we know this building in New York was built in the middle of the Civil War, or end of the Civil War. What other areas can you think of that have Roman numerals? Hint, sports might be an easy one. Next area they've impacted us is architecture. This category is going to be a major one that we're going to hang out in for a while with lots of little subcategories such as concrete. Architecture means the building of buildings, making buildings. They take a lot of ideas from Greece and made them their own, such as columns. So we still use columns, and porches, those are from Greece, and pediments, those are from Greece. Rome took those and adapted those. So what we're doing with our scavenger hunt is just looking for the specific things that Rome invented, not borrowed from Greece and made their own. Rome invented and gave to us. Concrete is used by Romans as a cheaper material. Remember, Greece used a lot of marble. Very expensive, very heavy. You can have big buildings, but they're limited in their size to one floor because of how heavy marble is. So you met concrete, you can build much taller buildings, such as the stadium I'm going to show you. You start going up 4 or 5 floors, where Greece, everything was limited to 1 floor. They use as the inner layer in their buildings, and when they want to make the building look pretty, they put an outer shell of marble, but the inner part is concrete. So there's someone pouring concrete. An example in our world. That's really easy. You can find a lot of examples You probably don't have to Google it. You could probably think of them when you walk around. Probably just look down underneath your feet. My son almost busted up our concrete today as we were walking. Hint, hint. There's a lot of areas where you can find concrete. Next category is domes. A dome is the shape of a half circle that rests on a circular wall. It's a fun way to cover a building. The most famous dome is the Parthenon, which I'll show you a picture of at the very end. This is a hint for the modern world. There's a lot of other domes. The second most largest dome in the world is this one on St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. You're going to need to Google to find out who has the biggest dome. It was only built about 3-4 years ago. Hint, it's also in Italy. There are a lot of domes in America. We have the third largest dome in the world here in America, so you can figure out what it is. There's domes in places like Turkey, and there are domes in Knoxville. Remember I said pay attention to that picture of Sacred Heart that we looked at the beginning of this lesson? That's the largest dome we have here. No, the sun sphere doesn't count. Listen to the word. It's a sphere. It is not a dome. It uses some of the same technology. You can't have the sphere without the dome, but in the case of our scavenger hunt, that doesn't count. You can find a lot of domes around the world, so don't count the sun sphere. Arches. Used in buildings because of their strength, an arch is one of the strongest shapes in the world. Yes, Mesopotamia had arches, but the world kind of forgot how to make them until the Etruscans, who influenced Rome, reintroduced them, and then Rome started using them a lot more, and because of Rome, they spread further. So yes, Mesopotamia did it first, but Rome did it better, so they get the credit. Their arch shape, having that keystone, holds a lot of weight above it, so it's good for doorways, but also for making buildings taller. From the arch in buildings themselves, and also in bridges, you can have really strong structures. They also made this a triumphal arch. This one is not in Rome. This one is in Paris. It's the largest triumphal arch in the world. France copied the ideas of Rome, that you build a triumphal arch like this one and march your military through it as a sign of pride and honor and conquest. For France, the base of this arch has their tomb for their unknown soldier. So similar to Rome, they use it for military purposes. Think about buildings or bridges around Knoxville that might have an arch. Think about other buildings in the world that might have an arch. Arch is really easy to Google. Look carefully at this definition of arch. Supporting capabilities and also triumphal. So the St. Louis arch doesn't count. Yes, it's a giant arch, but it's not based off of Rome. The shape is a little different, and it's not for the sake of a building. So happy hunting. Next is a stadium. We didn't define stadium because it seemed pretty universal and easy to understand what a stadium was. It's where you play sports, and a lot of people come and watch sports. The stadium that still remains in Rome is the Colosseum. And here's a not so great picture of it. That's the best I could legally find. The Colosseum had several entrances. You could go inside, and here's where you would watch gladiator games. Rome also had the Circus Maximus. The Colosseum could hold about 50,000 people, whereas the Circus Maximus could hold almost 250,000 people. That's about 200 to 250,000. The Circus Maximus was for watching chariot races. But both stadiums have similar structure in that you have easy entranceways and that people go underneath the seats in big hallways in order to get to their seats to watch the event. That is their impact on us. Every single stadium in every country of the world follows that engineering pattern because it is the best. It is the most efficient way to get a lot of humans in and out of a venue quickly. Every football stadium, basketball stadium, baseball stadium, soccer stadium in every country in the world, if it's a major stadium, so maybe not all your high school stadiums, but your major ones that are for college and pros, they all have that same engineering architecture structure. So that should be pretty easy. Knoxville is known for their stadiums. So what's the impact on Knoxville? Do a little bit of thinking. I think you'll get it. New category. Engineering is the science of building things and systems and how they work together. Rome impacts us a lot in their engineering that they give to us, such as our roads and the way we build our entire road systems. They had a phrase in Rome, all roads lead to Rome. And that meant any road at any point in the empire, if you got on it and walked long enough, you would end up in the city of Rome itself. Our interstate system is connected like that. You get on the roads here and you drive the direction you want to and you'll get there because all roads in the US are interconnected. The roads they had were a network of connecting cities throughout their empire, and so the connection is part of what they give us, and the way we build our roads is what they give us. In the center, you can see a Roman road. It's built so well that 2,000 years later, it's still intact, and you can easily walk up and down on it. All of Europe is littered with roads that people still walk on and still use. They drive on. If it's not in existence, it's probably because they paved over a Roman road and used the Roman road as the subbase or base for the modern road. Having this system, a subbase, a base, and then the surface that you drive on, that comes from Rome. Yes, Persia had a network of roads. They did improve their transportation, but they were not as durable and as easily traveled as Roman roads, so Rome gets credit over the Persian Empire. Also, the fact that the center of a Roman road and a modern road, if it's built properly, is a little bit higher than the edges, so that the water will drain off to the sides. The way we physically build our roads and the fact that they're interconnected is what we get from Rome. So think about, where in Knoxville do you see a road? You should be able to look out your front window and see one, and definitely look out the window of the car. You'll see an impact of Rome on your life. And then look at the world and look at how different countries build their roads. And you'll see a lasting impact of Rome. Even if ancient Rome never interacted with them, such as in Russia, or interact with them very limitedly on the Silk Road, such as with China. Check out their impact on the world. Aqueducts. An aqueduct is an above and sometimes underground water system that is to transport fresh water into cities. This is one of the best preserved aqueducts in the world, Pont du Gard en France. It's in France. Pont means bridge. Gard, like guard. It's a bridge in southern France. And at the very top is where you would have had the water. The other arches are just to keep the wall up so that your water will travel downhill all the way from your starting point to the major cities. And every major city in Rome had fresh running water and bathhouses and toilet houses and vomitoriums. And that's just for what you think it is. And that was all possible because of their aqueducts. So what do we have in America that is based off of a system of running water? Next category is art. Mosaics. They're formed by using little teeny tiny pieces of stone and putting them together, or it can be glass, and making pictures or geometric patterns like you see here. You probably saw a mosaic when you studied Greece. This is of Alexander the Great. It was not made by the Greeks, it was made by the Romans. It's well preserved because it was on a floor of a villa in Pompeii, and when the volcano erupted, it covered over the mosaic and preserved it for us to see. Mosaics, tiny little pictures made of teeny tiny pieces. There are a lot of gorgeous mosaics in this world, some in the Vatican, several in Knoxville, so keep your eyes peeled and happy Googling for them. Statues. Now wait, if you're remembering Greece, you will remember that Greece was the first one to make realistic, lifelike statues. So why are we saying Rome? Greece made their statues realistic and lifelike, but they didn't ever celebrate people. They celebrated gods mostly. I tell you about, they did celebrate people, but they just had busts, like shoulder up, of Homer and Aristotle. It wasn't full-length statues of their leaders. Military leaders and emperors having statues is a big impact from Rome. So the art style comes from Greece, but what we choose to make art about comes from Rome. Here's an example of Julius Caesar. He's shown as tall, strong, commanding. That kind of realistic art of a leader comes from Rome. Such as Abraham Lincoln and the way he's portrayed in Washington, D.C. There are several statues like that around Knoxville, several around Market Square if you're out and walking about to get fresh air. Look for realistic statues of people who are heroes, who've done important things, or who are leaders of ours. That would be the impact from Rome. Next category, calendar. Julius Caesar's modified version of Egyptian calendar, 365 days, he added the months of July and August. July is named after him, Julius. August is named after his son, Augustus. The Roman months are Julius, Augustus, September, October, November, December. Some of them are like Janus. I think it's pretty easy for you to see how they impact us. It's going to be the same connection for Knoxville and the whole world, anyone who uses an English calendar. But also, if you hear of a Spanish calendar, Julius, what month is that? August, what month is that on a Spanish calendar? What about French? What are the names for those? Latin and the Latin calendar impacts the names of calendars in English and French and Italian and Spanish. So think about how it impacts Knoxville and the rest of the world. That should be a pretty easy one. That's all we've got today for you on our KCS at home. Hope you have a great time. Happy exploring. Can't wait to hear about all your adventures and see your pictures and your images. Have a great, safe, and wonderful summer. Bye.